So what is it that a woman with feminine energy going to be able to benefit from that a woman with just superficial looks will never be able to benefit from? So let's get into it, right? So the first one is inner confidence. Imagine your favorite snack, your favorite food, whatever it is, and you were to go and purchase it. Well, it's always going to come with a container, and also the inside of the container like will be the content, which is what you actually enjoy. So when we walk around with feminine energy versus us walking around with feminine looks, it's the same thing. The looks is the outer shell, but it's really what's on the inside that people enjoy. It's really what's on the inside that people enjoy. So inner confidence, I see it in the same way. It's a woman who really understands what she brings, right? The power of what's on her inside. Okay, so it really has a lot to do with her self-assurance, her knowing the strength that she has and what she brings to the table, all those inner qualities. And so she can stand firm on those things, right? When you know what you bring to the table, when you know the value that you bring, you walk like it, you exhibit it, versus you know that all I am is a shell. People act funny. Women act funny when all they have is the shell, and they know all they have is the shell. There's something missing. There's a lot of insecurities. There's a lot of things on the inside that they don't yet possess. They act the same. They show up a certain way too. They act up because in their minds they know this is just a shell. On the inside there's nothing. I don't have the confidence. I don't really have that self-assurance. I don't really have that belief. Okay, and usually women like that who are in a space where they have insecurities, more so, you know, showing up with the looks and there's really no inner confidence, guess what? They focus more on proving more than they focus on being. A woman with inner confidence, a woman with feminine energy can just be, because she just is. I don't have to act like I'm an egg if I'm an egg. I don't have to act like I'm a candle if I'm a candle. I don't have to act like I'm a bottle of water if I'm a bottle of water. When you are who you are, you can just be. Versus when you're not, you don't have that inner confidence. Now you have to prove. Let me try to show people that I have confidence, and that's when we walk around using anything from the outside, our looks, our status, our position, our possessions. We use those things to try to prove to the world that we are what we know in the inside we're not. So a woman with feminine energy will have inner confidence. A woman with just feminine looks will lack that. Let's move on to number 2. The second one is authenticity. A woman who can show up with feminine energy will have that authenticity, meaning she can be herself. She is who she is. There's no pretense. There's no, I'm trying to operate out of insecurities. No, she have a strong sense of self. No one can take that away from her. She's grounded in who she is. And usually what happens is that what's meant for this woman will find her because she is authentic. She is who she was meant to be. For example, let's just say flowers are drawn to sunlight. You know, they grow in sunlight. The moment that flowers in sunlight, it's just going to grow because the sun is authentic to what it provides. You see what I mean? So when you're authentic, it's almost like everything that's meant for you will be drawn to you because you don't have to force it. It's like you're operating from just, again, going back, just being. Okay? But a woman who's just showing up with just feminine looks won't have that authenticity about her. Again, she's in that proving mode. So how can you be authentic if you're again focusing on just, you're trying to prove something to the world? If you're not being who you are, then how can you flow into the second piece, which is the authenticity? Okay, so again, it's a matter of being in a space where you don't have to try to act like anything. That authenticity is there. You're grounded in who you are. You don't have to try to change who you are for anything because you've already done the work. And those things that I'm sharing with you is going to take work to get there. It's not just something you can turn on and off. Your looks, you can do your makeup and put that on and off, right? You can put perfume on, you can put that on and off. Like anything that's on the outer shell, you can put it on and off. Anything that's on the inside is going to take work for you to get to that level. Number 3, emotional intelligence. Now, let me tell you this. Women with feminine energy will automatically have emotional intelligence because, again, to get to feminine energy takes work. And automatically, some of the things that you work towards, some of the things that you've had to overcome, some of the things that you have to work on to get to that level where you exude that feminine energy, automatically that work will also take care of the emotional intelligence piece. And guess what? Emotional intelligence, you cannot lead effectively without it. You cannot have an amazing and thriving marriage without it. You cannot be in a leadership position. You cannot own a business and do well without it. Because again, people like being around those they like. And let me tell you, there's 4 pillars to emotional intelligence that is very important. The first one is you being able to have self-awareness. You're aware of your strength. You're aware of your weakness. You're aware of your values. You're aware of everything that pertains to you, but especially your emotions. You're aware of your emotions. That's the first piece. Awareness of self. Second piece is awareness of your surrounding, of those around you. How attuned are you to your surrounding? If you're a leader, how attuned are you to your staff? Can you read body language? Can you sense those nonverbal communications, right? Because some of us, we are in leadership positions and we cannot even read a room. We cannot even be attuned to those that we are leading. So how are you going to be effective in your leadership if you cannot even pick up on those cues to see what's really taking place around you? Okay? Facial expressions, different emotional connections take place when we can be attuned not just to our emotions, but to the emotions of those that we're leading, to the emotions of those that we're serving, to the emotions of those that are, because again, the company is made up of people. So if you are not connecting to people, you cannot lead people effectively. It is key and very important. The third pillar of emotional intelligence is being able to manage your own emotions. Okay, so you're aware of your emotions, you're aware of your strength, you're aware of your weakness, but can you manage it? Can you manage the anger that you're aware of? Can you manage your emotions? Okay, and so management is a big piece of it. But the other one, the fourth piece, right? The fourth pillar is managing, being able to manage your relationship with other people. Yes, I'm aware of your facial expression. I'm aware that there's something off, but how do I manage it? So that's another important key point, is us being able to do those things. So a woman who's operating out of just feminine looks is going to lack that. She's going to lack emotional intelligence. She won't know how to deal with her emotions. She's beautiful, but she don't know how to deal with her team. She's beautiful, but she doesn't know how to really manage her team. She's beautiful, but she doesn't know how to pick up on the cue. So do you see what all these things are important? Especially as a leader, especially if you're in a career, especially if you're running a business, especially as a wife, especially if you're looking for love. How can you show up in such of a way where those things fall into place if you can't even manage your own self? It starts with you first, and then it overflows to everything else around you. If you can't manage you, how are you going to manage others? This is why it starts with you first, okay? Especially if you're holding a leadership position. Number 4 is nurturing abilities. So when a woman has nurturing abilities, a woman who shows up, she has nurturing abilities, what happens? She's able to be a support to everything around her. Everything that is connected to her will grow, will flourish, will thrive. Why is that? Because she can foster a very strong connection with everything that she's aligned to. So when a woman has that nurturing abilities, it's really a matter of her being able to walk into a room. She's able to neutralize negativity. She's able to open her mouth and speak, and what she says really feeds the team, really, adds to the employee morale, really adds to the department morale, because who she is nurturing within her being, within herself. She walks into this marriage, her husband's having a really bad day, her boyfriend's having a really bad day, she opens her mouth and nurturing. She fixes the situation. Not necessarily to 100%, but her words alone brings insight. This is all ways in which a nurturing woman is able to allow everything around her to flourish, because she exudes that energy. Now, a woman with just feminine looks can't do that. She walks into a room, she's beautiful, but then she opens her mouth, she makes the situation worse. It's really important for us to understand the difference between looks and energy. Again, we're looking at the inner. Again, we don't want just the shell. The shell can't do nothing for you. The shell can't nourish you. The shell can't do none of that. Okay? You buy a box of pizza. For those of you who eat healthy, you buy a plate of healthy food. The plate can't do nothing for you. The shell can't do nothing for you. The packaging can't do nothing for you. It's what's inside. It's the food. It's the content. I want you to start thinking about that when you're thinking about those 10 things that I'm sharing with you as well. Okay? So number 4 is nurturing abilities. That one is really important for us to think about, because the world really lacks that. The world lacks people who can just walk into a room and bring value just because of the essence of who that person is. So when we can show up with that, it really changes things for you in your leadership position and in everything else that's attached to you in your personal relationships, right? Number 5, is that inner fulfillment. So when you can show up with a sense of joy, when you can show up with a sense of peace, when you can show up with the good and the bad doesn't really disrupt anything, you can walk into a place, and because you have peace within, nothing can disrupt your flow because you're grounded, you're stabilized. And so that inner fulfillment is everything, because it allows you to show up in such of a way where you can have a real sense of purpose, a real sense of there's something greater than me, there's something bigger than me, right? It's not just in the present, it's not in what's happening today. You're always looking forward to what is to come, because that fulfillment is deeply rooted. But when you don't have that, guess what happens? Anything will rock your world. You walk into the business place, you walk into the workplace, and there's chaos within your department, and that throws you off versus you being able, and it's a mindset too. That inner fulfillment it also fuels your mindset. I'm fulfilled. I'm always looking at something that's greater and bigger than me. That fulfillment is so deeply rooted that I'm not just going to be focusing on just here. You're always thinking ahead. You're always thinking of solutions. You're always thinking of, because you already have that positivity flowing from the inside of you versus coming from a place where it's like you feel so chaotic on the inside. You don't even have your own personal things together. And when you enter into certain situations, it's like, oh my goodness. It's like the straw that broke the camel's back. Because within you already had so much chaos. So this is why it's so important for you to have that inner fulfillment, because it's not coming from anything from the outside. You already possess it within yourself, so that when crazy things happen, it's like you already have that positive buildup from the inside to carry you forward. Number 6, authentic connections. A woman with feminine energy is able to formulate authentic connections. Now, have you ever seen a woman who says, I don't have a lot of women friends, I only have male friends, I don't get along with women, I only have male friends? And for some of you ladies, it's like, it's both. You turn men off, you turn women off, you turn your staff off, you turn your husband off. So like for some of you, you notice that like people always have, like people don't really bond with me like that. So if it's everyone, if it's everywhere you go, if your staff feel this way, you know, your friends feel this way, people you're in a relationship feel this way, then it's important to look within to say, you know, how am I showing up? Why is it I cannot have authentic connections with people? And usually you'll realize that there's some work that needs to be done there. And so, you know, the last thing we want is to be in a place where we're creating as women toxic workplace vibes. We're creating a toxic workplace environment because of how we're showing up. When you're thinking about how you show up as a leader, and you're thinking the way I show up will impact the workplace environment, it will impact team morale, it will impact if the place is a toxic place for others or not, then it matters. Because these are the kind of things that creates high turnover rate. Have you ever worked with someone whose personality, whose ways of being, especially if that person is leading you, and you notice that people keep coming and then they leave. People keep being hired and then high turnover rate. Oftentimes it's because of the leader. If the leader is showing up in such of a way, her internal struggles, or they keep showing up, it's going to impact her staff, it's going to impact her team. And guess what? It impacts even the company as a whole. Do you see how you showing up can impact the bottom line of a company? You're leading your staff, the way you treat them, the way you are, your energy creates high turnover rate. In turn, it creates a bunch of expenses for the company. So when you think of it this way, how you show up as a woman is so much bigger than you, right? And so we really want to think about, can you create authentic connections with your team, with your staff, with your husband, with your partner? Because most likely, if you're having trouble creating deep connection with those people in your personal life, most often time it trickles down into your workplace as well, into your business as well. Okay, but let's move forward. Number 7 is intuition and creativity. A woman with feminine energy, not feminine looks, but feminine energy, is able to embrace that intuition. I teach that all the time within our Feminine Within Accelerator, is that self-trust, is being able to lean into the things that you feel like is being put in you. There's a guidance, there's an inner leading, and you know you can trust it because you're so attuned with yourself. And the thing is, a lot of women are afraid to make decisions. A lot of women don't even trust themselves to make decisions. And when a woman is in a space like that and she cannot even trust herself to make decisions, how is she going to be creative? How is she going to share a lot of ideas, new ideas, right? How will she bring innovation? So all these things are going to be lacking. Your team, your staff, your job, your business, all these places are waiting for you to bring forth new solutions, new ideas, new ways of doing things. And you don't even trust yourself to make small decisions at home. How are you going to even trust your own self to bring creativity into your role? So it really goes back to your confidence. It goes back again to that intuition. And a woman with feminine energy will have that intuition, and she'll trust her intuitions. She'll be able to move about. She'll be able to be creative. She'll be able to bring new ideas into the workplace, new ideas into her leadership position, new ideas into her relationship, into her marriage, into her friendship. She's always there because she trusts her gut feeling, and whatever is coming in and whatever's downloaded, whatever insight, she knows if she brings it forth, it could change the world. It could change the work environment. It can change the problem that's happening in her position. It can change the environment of her home because she can trust herself. She have intuition. But again, it roots back to you because you're the one in the marriage. You're the one in the leadership position. You're the one, right? And so these things are going to come naturally out of you in all those ways, because what's connected to all these areas, what's the common denominator? It's you. You're one woman, but you have different facets to you. You run a home, you run a business, you're in a leadership position. It's you. You're in the middle of it. So focusing on those aspects of you as a person, as a woman, is going to also allow you to flow in all these other areas as well. So intuition and creativity, right? Number 8 is balance and adaptability. So a woman who has feminine energy, again, not feminine looks, but feminine energy, she's able to really adapt to different life situations. Nothing's gonna throw her off. She really has that balance on the inside. She knows when to speak up. She knows when to address an issue. She knows when to set boundaries, but she also knows, balance, when to take a step back, not say a word, listen, observe, take notes, make sense. Again, remember what I shared earlier about the whole aspect of a woman who's also able to read the environment. Back to emotional intelligence, right? You're able to be attuned to your environment. These are all things, as you'll notice, they all interplay together. She can observe because she understands, if I'm not speaking right now and I'm observing, I'm really going to be able to have so much insight about what's taking place, so much insight about my marriage, so much insight about my kids, so much insight about my staff. Because I'm not just speaking, I'm listening, I'm observing, I'm taking a step back. So a woman like that, a balanced woman, knows how to do what and when to do what. When do I speak up? When do I set boundaries? But when do I take a step back and not say a word and take in from my environment so I can make better decisions? So I can speak in such of a way where it's effective because I've gathered so much data from my environment. So you have to know when to do what though. So this really goes deep. But keep in mind balance and adaptability. You being able to adapt. You're not crumbled by life's hardship. You're not crumbled by what's happening in the team. Something happens at work and you leading a team, something happens. Instead of you being crumbled, you can be balanced. You can have that neutral emotion, say, we're gonna figure out a way, versus you crumbling with the rest of the staff when you should be the one leading the staff. These are all things that impacts you as a leader. It impacts you in your own home. If you're married, every little thing that happens, you crumble, versus, okay, this might be a difficult situation, but you're able to be balanced. You can take through. You can take a step back and say, let me think about how to find a solution, right? Because that balance that you have within, you being able to adapt to things and not crumbling, it allows you to make better decisions. It allows you to take a step back, evaluate, assess, see what's taking place so that you can show up in your marriage, in your leadership position, in the things that you are connected to, in your responsibilities, right? Again, balance and adaptability. Number 9, okay, empowerment and collaboration. And I'll tell you this, a woman with just feminine looks, who's maybe leveraging her looks, maybe leveraging anything from the outside, leveraging how much money she has, leveraging her position, to show the world that maybe she's worthy, because maybe there's an insecurity on the inside. And as she's masking those insecurities, she's using those outer things to show up. It's going to be difficult for her to empower others because, again, she's trying to prove to the world that she is worthy. Versus a woman who is in the space where she have her in feminine energy, she's gone through the journey, she can show up with that empowerment and collaboration because her mindset is different. She understands that I don't have to operate from a lacking mentality. I can operate from an abundance mindset. I can share tools with my team, not being afraid that they're going to take my position. I can share resources with my friends, not thinking they're going to, do better than me, because they understand that if I empower and I collaborate more so than I compete, then, and again, this really roots back to that inner confidence, that inner fulfillment, all those things. When you go to a journey and you really have those things, you really have that inner fulfillment, you really have that inner confidence, guess what? You see the world different. And you also understand that, you know what? It doesn't matter what's taking place. Like, who I am is who I am. I've done so much hard work to be where I am today. There's enough for everyone. You understand that you're unique, that what's for you is for you. So it changes your mindset too. And that's when you can really be in a place where you can adjust the crowns of other women. You don't compete with other women, because you understand that who I am is who I am. What's for me is for me. No one can take my position. No one can take what's for me. No one can take my job. No one can, so you can really pour more value into your staff, more value into your clients, more value into your relationship, more value into your friendships, because you have that mindset shift, right? And number 10, personal growth and self-reflection. A woman who's gone through the journey of becoming feminine, a woman with that energy, that feminine energy, is also able to focus a lot on personal growth and reflection. She doesn't really focus on, just vanity metrics. Usually she has accountability, okay? She's not, again, in a place where she's just focusing on just certain aspects of herself. She's focusing on all aspects of herself. She's showing up full. She's showing up whole. She's showing up in such of a way where it's like, you know what? I don't have to compare. Imagine, for example, you cooking a dish and there's 2 dishes. You made a 6 cheese lasagna versus a person who just put 1 type of cheese in there, right? So when we think about the woman who shows up with feminine energy versus the woman who shows up with just feminine looks, that's usually what it's like. The feminine look, there's just 1 ingredient in there, one type of cheese. She's only focusing on how she looks and maybe on certain outer metrics to show up in the world. Versus the woman who's showing up with feminine energy, she is that 6 cheese dish, right? There's different components to her. She's not just relying on one thing to feel valuable. There's different parts to her, and together with all these ingredients, it makes her whole. So you see, there's more complexity to a woman like that. There's more substance to a woman like that. There's more flavor to a woman like that. And I'm talking about food because I want you to really understand the essence of it. And which is why this journey is so important, because a woman with more flavor and more essence, more complexity, more flexibility, more adaptability, emotional intelligence, like when we think about all those 10 things that I've shared with you, when a woman can show up with all of them or most of them, she's more interesting. She leads better. Her team likes her better. She brings more cash flow. She's more of a benefit to the company she works for. She brings more ideas, more creativity. Her staff enjoys being around her. She can nurture her team. Hello, these are all things that impacts cash flow. These are all things that impacts a company's bottom line. If a woman is fulfilled in her personal life, she's fulfilled in her marriage, she's fulfilled in her personal relationship, she's more importantly fulfilled within herself. Guess what? She brings all those things into the workplace. She brings all those things into the business. And guess who benefits? She benefits, her personal relationship benefits, but guess what? The company also benefits. Because all these components of her are benefits to the company, because it really impacts the bottom line. It really impacts the staff. Less turnover rates, better work environment, better work culture. Like, these things goes a long way. But if we think of the reverse too, guess what? High turnover rate is not cheap. Having to replace an employee every 3 months, every 6 months, for some every week, it's not cheap. So it really costs. So when we really think about leaders are humans, women leaders are humans. And when we really focus on her in a holistic aspect, when we really focus on what's taking place in her personal life and we make sure that she's fulfilled within, her personal relationships, her personal life is well adjusted, because we're focusing on her and helping her and equipping her in such of a way where she's able to show up differently for herself. She's going to bring all those things into the workplace, and it really have a direct impact into the things that matters. So if you're watching this right now and you're thinking, man, my personal life, has suffered. Man, my team suffers. Man, my company is suffering because of the leaders. When you're thinking about everything we spoke about, and you can think that, man, like there's a real direct impact, and you're interested in working with us within our Feminine Within Accelerator, I invite you to reach out to me, right? I'll keep time on my calendar where you can book a call and we'll have a conversation. I really want to understand some of the challenges that you're seeing, maybe, within the challenges that you're seeing within your company, the challenge that you're seeing within, and we can have a conversation around how do we shift this, right? Our curriculum is designed to really tackle the emotional intelligence. Our curriculum is designed to really focus on the woman. That's what's different about us, is that this program, our Feminine Within Accelerator program, it doesn't just give you tools, do this, do that. What we're lacking in today's society is not just information. The world is inundated with information. What we're lacking is transformation. How do we help women, professional women, get into such of a place in her life where she can lead differently? She can lead in her home differently. She can lead herself differently so that she can show up in a different capacity. And the reason why we focus so deeply on the whole woman, the inner part of a woman, because that's what's lasting. We cannot slap a band-aid on the things that's happening and think it's going to be shifted. When we show up different, everything else attached to us has no choice but to also elevate. So if you're watching this and you're interested in working with us, just click below the link